You're right, guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Muscle Owl Talks. One of our episodes on World Duchenne Awareness Day, September 2017, we got Shelley on the show, which is always great and always a lot of fun. But in fact, quite a serious topic today. It relates to what we were talking about a few weeks ago about the access to wheelchairs in the UK and abroad in the US, Canada, Australia, other places as well. So essentially, we always just think if people have muscular dystrophy or Duchenne muscular dystrophy, they can just get access to a wheelchair. But often it's not that easy. As many of you know, my brother Andrew, who's 25 years old, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. He followed quite a normal progression, or maybe a standard progression, you could say, of needing a manual chair when he was about 7 or 8, and then using a power chair when he was maybe 10, 11, 12. And a lot of people seem to follow that trajectory. And I'll just say on that, there are enough troubles as it is with people being, having to go to great lengths to secure those chairs and the right equipment, and then to keep those chairs and get them insured and get everything sorted after 5 years, 7 years, getting new ones, everything like that. But Shelley, you've got quite a different case and quite a unique case.
We've got a unique case because my little boy Fraser is 4.5. Mm-hmm. He's never been able to stand independently. He's never been able to walk. He's never taken a single step by himself. Mm. He has a manual wheelchair, which he can move around, inside for short distances. Mm. But in a bigger space, days out in the school playground, for example, he wouldn't be able to keep up with friends in terms of, running around, playing games, things like that. He just can't keep up with them. So we went to wheelchair services and asked if we could have a powered wheelchair for Fraser for inclusion at school. And wheelchair services don't have a wheelchair in stock in their budgets which suits his needs. So
and this is a power chair that he can move around.
A power chair which, would give him inclusion, would give him independence. They don't have anything to meet his need. So we tried out some special chairs for him, some special powered wheelchairs for children of his age and size. Mm. And wheelchair services wouldn't fund them for him. Mm. We've appealed this decision twice with wheelchair services, and both times the answer was no. We can't fund them for you. The second time they said they could give us a voucher for a very small amount towards a powered wheelchair, but we would have to look to fund the wheelchair ourselves. Yeah. Now, obviously, that's not good enough. Where we are today in society, that's not a good enough answer for me. So I submitted an individual funding request, which you can submit if somebody is an exceptional circumstance in their condition or diagnosis, which obviously in Duchenne terms, Fraser is exceptional because there are no other boys like him at his age who can't walk and who haven't walked. The decision for the funding for the chair had to be supported by a consultant or somebody involved with his care. We had this signed off by Newcastle Hospital, all supporting papers, reports, letters, everything went with it. They took 11 weeks to make a decision for us. They knew when Fraser was starting school. They knew he needed the chair. They knew he needed to get used to, practicing driving it and using it before school. And he starts school tomorrow. And last week we were told they will not fund the chair. The funding request was refused. So now we find ourselves in a position where school starts tomorrow. We have no funding and no powered wheelchair.
Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. So, I mean, on two levels, really. On the level that, he's a young boy, 4 years old, starting school, and wanting and needing the independence to be able to move around of his own accord with his own autonomy, and he's not being allowed that. That's a real important thing there. But then the second level, which is when in the UK, when writing requests to get a wheelchair, if you put in an individual funding request, I think the rules are that they don't give power chairs to children who have Duchenne muscular dystrophy because they don't think they need them. So if you put in an individual funding request to say, well, this child is different and is different from all others, because it's conditionality, so different from all others with his condition, and it's an exceptional circumstance, then they should allow that. But with you, and in this case, they're almost acting as if that's not a rule. They're almost acting as if the rule is with other disabled people of the same age.
They are. They're saying in a pool of other children who have a mobility problem, he isn't exceptional. But obviously the terms of an individual funding request are that you have to be exceptional in your diagnosis or condition. So that's a whole other story in itself. And obviously we've now been left in no other position than to start crowdfunding for the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because yes, we could apply for charity funding. If we'd have had this decision 3 months ago, we could have then done something about it. But obviously charity funding applications take a while to be approved, to be granted, and they won't fund in retrospect either. So obviously we're now in a position where, we need to get this chair ordered yesterday, and we need to raise some money now for this chair.
And that's another issue in itself. So there's the injustice of it, but then there's this idea of, and what we've spoken about many times before, is what I think is the normalisation of practices that are wrong and unfair. So I mean, you did your story in the local press, and it went around, and you've got a lot of donations to your page, and that's really good, and we're all really happy about that. But I mean, for me, and I think for you as well, the idea, and for the community as a whole, the idea that people should have to fundraise for a wheelchair, that's ridiculous in my opinion. And I think, the normalizing that we're seeing in society of a lot of people having to top up or fundraise for top ups or fundraise for the whole chair, because wheelchair services or the NHS or whatever providers in whatever country simply will not provide. I think that's a really bad thing that we're seeing.
I think that's it. I think it's the normalisation that you have to fundraise for a wheelchair, and people then think this is a normal thing to do. And, that shouldn't be the case. I've got legs, they work properly. I'm fortunate. Fraser's legs and, many other people's legs are their wheelchair. And, if I hurt my leg and I went to A&E, obviously the plan of care for me would be to get me mobile again, get me moving around. So why is it not the same for somebody who is disabled? It's just not right.
No, absolutely. It's wonderful to get that story out, and this is something we'll keep talking about on Muscle Hour. We'll be focusing on Shelley's story and how this plays out. And also, I mean, we had an episode with Michaela a few weeks ago where we were talking about one of the articles in BuzzFeed where they were talking about the problems that exist in England at the moment. And this is something, we'll keep talking about and keep doing all we can to ensure that if changes need to be made, they can be made, and that people get what they need with regards to wheelchairs and power chairs. Not just in the UK, but everywhere else as well. Let us know if you've had any problems and what you're going through as well at the moment. That's wonderful. Wonderful episode. Thanks, Shelley. I don't know, do you want to round us off on World Duchenne Awareness Day?
So World Duchenne Awareness Day, the day in which the Duchenne community worldwide are united in obviously raising as much awareness as they can about Duchenne. Please, please, please keep sharing the red balloon. Make people ask you, what's the red balloon for? What's Duchenne? Educate people, because there it is. Big thing to know.
Yeah, and that's why I always say, growing up with my brother having Duchenne muscular dystrophy, I always feel it's not as well known as it should be. And I think for the condition that it is, everyone should know about it. So, hopefully we can continue raising awareness.
Definitely.
Thanks, Shelley.
Bye.
Like and share and comment if you liked it or if you've got anything to say. And we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.